What's up, guys? Welcome to the Steve Bizzagani Show. Today's episode, we're actually going to be talking about something. I'm pulling this right out of my coaching program, so give you guys a little bit of an insight as to what it's like inside the program, but also to give you guys some cool value. So we're actually going to be talking about something today called avoiding commission cuts, and it's like a very popular topic. I know a lot of realtors do struggle with this conversation with sellers. I know that it's a process for me that has evolved over time, and I have used several different kinds of conversations, many of which now I have one that I really, really like that pretty much 90% of the time is going to get me to keep a full 6% commission, while other methods that I've used or have seen other agents use, maybe I'm not so fond of, but I'll mention them anyway. And just to give you guys an insight as to what's going on in that conversation. So anyway, let's get right into it here. If my computer wants to work, there we go. So avoiding commission cuts. Look, guys, first things first, you guys have to have a dialogue prepared for this. This is not something that you could just go into a listing appointment unprepared for this conversation and not have a way to talk about it. Framing is really important. When I say framing, it's like, okay, the framing here is, I used to work before I was at Keller Williams, I was at another brokerage, and I think I loved their listing agreement. It was awesome because at the very bottom of the first page, it had, it asked the seller, it said, what percentage would you like to list your property at? It would say 6%, 7%, or 8%. And I was like, that's so amazing because obviously everybody's going to pick 6 because that's the cheapest option. And it was cool because it framed the 6% as the cheapest option. And I thought it was a brilliant way. I don't know if that's intentional or not, but it worked all the time. And I think I may have listed 2 homes for less than 6% while I was at that brokerage. Everything else was always a 6, which I thought was a lot of fun. And, it's annoying to me when I'm on the buyer side and I have to deal with a listing agent who doesn't get the full 6%. It just, it's a little bit frustrating. I mean, obviously we'd like to be paid, at least here in the Philadelphia area, it should be a 3 and 3. I know other areas are different. Sometimes it's like, the listing agent does get a little bit more because they pay for marketing expenses and the buyer agent gets a little bit less. Whatever's the standard in your area. Mine, it's typical to see like a 3 and 3 or a 2.5 and a 2.5. But anyway, so the framing is really important. I think I thought that was a really cool thing that I thought was worth sharing. But remember, this is your money, so you do want to protect it. I mean, this is the money that will keep the roof over your head, the money that will put food on your table. So one of the things is like, and I have had this conversation with sellers many times. I've been told that there are, speaking with sellers, the sellers have told me that there are realtors that will go into their appointments with the sellers and just immediately start out at 5%. They will just be, you'll just throw their money away right from the start without even asking, hey, look, just because you're cool, I'm going to give you 5%. Like, dude, you just threw away like $3,000 for no reason. He didn't even ask you, like, for the discount. Don't throw away your money. Protect it. It's your money. Work for what you're worth. Like on that Berkshire Hathaway listing agreement that I used to have, like, the 7 and the 8%, there are realtors out there who can get 7 and 8% because they know what they're worth. They are like that much of an ass kicker that they know how to go out there and actually get what they're worth. And I think that's awesome. And now I have never gotten 7% or 8% on a listing before. But for those who have, like, more power to you. That's freaking awesome. So anyway, dialogue options. So here are the options that I've come up with, at least in my experience, the most I've come up with. So frame the 6%, I've actually, that's where I started because, I didn't know what I was doing when I first started at Berkshire Hathaway. That was what I was taught and how I, used it. So it worked out, but, I found it was I thought there were better options. And I did eventually come up with them, and I'll show you what I mean. Compensation to the brokerage, not a commission you get. So I think this is just more of a dialogue, more of a word. So let me first say this. They're dialogue options. These 6 things here are dialogue options. And when I say dialogue, I mean because a script is so annoying. I hate the word script because it makes you sound like you're a robot, like you're an actor playing a part. That's what actors do. They read a script and then they play the part. And I think that's annoying because then it means you're not being yourself. You're playing the role of someone else. You're acting. Whereas a dialogue is more like you take on the persona, take on the message of what the dialogue is supposed, or what the script is supposed to convey, and then you make the message your own, and then you communicate it in a genuine fashion to build the relationship with the client. That's the way things are supposed to be done. Not just like a robotic script where you treat every client the same, you get on the phone with them and all that stuff. Dialogues are the words I prefer anyway. So all of these are all dialogues. You guys can make them up put your own spin on them and make them your own. So the compensation to brokerage versus a commission, like, because compensation is something that you earn versus a commission is something you get. I think it just comes off. This is more just like a word usage thing. That's not really a whole dialogue, but I would just say, like, using the word compensation sounds better and lands better on the ears of a seller than it does commission. Like, when a seller says, "What do you charge?" or "What is your commission?" it just sounds a little sharp on the edge. Versus like, "Hey, look, this is the compensation that Keller Williams gets," because it is true at settlement. I don't get a check. Keller Williams, I get a check to give to Keller Williams, and then they pay me a split from it. So it is a compensation to Keller Williams. It's not actually a check to me. I just like to use the word compensation as opposed to commission. So, like, I would say use that word to kind of up your professionalism a little bit with that little switch there. Also, dollar amount discount. Sometimes people will say, "Hey, look, Steve, can you I know you want to do you want to list the house for 6%. Can you do 5%?" And instead of cutting the whole commission, like a 1 full percent, which might be $3,000 to $6,000 in some cases, be like, "Hey, look, I'll give you like a $500 or $1,000 discount instead," or something like that. So it sounds, it's giving them something, but it's not giving away all the things. Like, maybe giving $1,000 away on a $700,000 listing isn't as bad as giving a full percent away on a $700,000 listing. So it keeps more money in your pocket. It also feels like you're giving a little bit. But again, at the end of the day, you do really want to protect this money. So don't try to do the discount. Like, I really don't like to give discounts at all. I really fight for every bit of what I'm worth in these listing appointments. And sellers do respect that. Mind you. So don't think that you're going to lose out on listings or respect from sellers just because you're charging a full commission price. Also, know this, that let's put it this way, when a client sees all else being equal, then the only thing they judge on is price. So you have to be able to communicate your value in it that shows that you are worth the 6%. And I teach all this stuff as to how I communicate my 6% in my Next Level Academy, but like, I'm not going to go through that. It's another topic for another video, another day. But like, if you can't communicate your value and separate yourself, then the seller is literally going to make your decisions based fully on price and price alone. So here's the other thing: is so to continue this conversation, don't make a big deal, just keep going. I think it's really cool is, sometimes people will hover on the listing conversation itself, and I'll be like, "Look, don't just hover on the conversation. Be like, unless it's visibly obvious that they feel like they're being robbed, then maybe comment. But if, like, just move on, keep the conversation going, be a professional, and keep progressing." So they'll be like, "Hey, Steve, like, what is this going to cost me to list the house?" And I'll be like, "Hey, look, it's going to be." The standard in the area is about 6%. In Philadelphia, it's normal to do a 6% compensation to the brokerage. You're good with that? And they'll be like, "Hey, okay, understood. Okay, cool, great. Now let's talk about the pictures and setting up the photographer." And like, just keep going with it. Don't sit there and hover on and be like, "Are you sure? Are you okay with this? Are you like, you're not feeling like you're robbed?" Like, don't hover on it. Like, if they said okay, just keep moving. Don't, because then you start to talk yourself out of money. Like, that is a small close. You just closed on a full compensation. Like, okay, now take that close and move to the next one. Let's talk about the photographer. Okay, great. From that, let's talk about a listing active date, and then go and then close until you get to the end of the listing agreement. Don't just sit there and hover over it. Blame a superior authority, like, "Oh, sorry, I can't do this. My brokerage just doesn't want to let me list for anything less than 6%. I think that's a cop-out. I don't really like that one. It's not my favorite. I have seen it used before when I was following someone when I first started. Did not like it, and it doesn't sound well. So I don't like that one. But just wanted to mention it anyway. This last one here, this is my absolute favorite one. I love this one, and I actually kind of combine it with don't make a big deal and just keep going, and I also combine it with the compensation and not a commission you get. So someone might come up to me, like, this just happened 2 days ago when I was listing a property in South Philly, and the guy emailed me and he said, "Steve, hey, look, I'm looking at the numbers here based on the seller net sheet that you sent me here, and the bottom line numbers and all that stuff. Like, I'm looking at 6% seems a little high. Can you do like 5% instead?" And so what I turn around and say, instead of being like giving him some kind of spiel or anything. I just said, all right, well, look, Vin, what's his name's Vinny. So I'll be like, Vinny, what do you want to walk away with? And he was just like, well, look, I'm honest to God, I'm trying to walk away with 50 grand. Now, that's fine. Because you know why? Because Vinny's a cool guy, and he's not counting my pennies. And no seller should be counting what you're making. And if you're dealing with a seller who's counting your pennies and what you're making, then you're dealing with kind of an a-hole, to be completely honest. Because nobody should be counting your money. They should be counting their own. And so for you, like, now Vinny's a cool guy. He doesn't care what I'm making. He just wants his $50,000, and that's it. And everything else doesn't really matter. Or obviously, if we can get him some more, then we obviously will. So he's like, all right, Steve, honestly, I'm looking to walk away with 50 grand. I said, okay, cool. So if, he asked me if it's, if I could do 5%, I say, hey, look, what are you looking to walk away with? Because remember, whoever's asking the questions is the one who's controlling the conversation. He asks me, hey, can you cut your commission to 5%? Now he's in control. I have to get control back, so I need to turn around and ask him a question. Hey, no, let's be honest with you. Before we have that conversation, Vinny, what are you trying to walk away with? And he goes, that now I'm back in the driver's seat because I'm the one asking the question. He goes, 50K. Great. Now it's my turn to ask a question again. So now I'm driving again. I'm driving the conversation. And that's the way it should be because I'm the professional in this situation. So, and then he goes, well, 50K. I'm like, okay, great. So, all right, so based on what you want to list at, so based on the property value, and we need to sell your house for over $363,000, Vinny, in order to get your 50 grand. And that includes, that's everything paid for. Like that includes the real estate compensation, that includes the transfer taxes, all the closing costs, et cetera, et cetera. If we sell it for 363 or higher, you'll get 50 grand or more. Sound good? And he'll be like, and that's it. And he'll be like, yeah, that sounds awesome. Great. So let's get started. And then you just keep moving. And then that's how the conversation went. Now, because at the end of the day, the question that every seller asks is, what's in it for me? And he wants to know what's in it for him. It better be 50 grand or higher. And that's all that matters. What I'm going to make on the sale of the house means nothing. Next to nothing anyway. And if I can sell for more, I'm going to list it for 380, but I really hope to get him 380 or more. I think it's a great property, and it probably will get 380, maybe 385 if we can get a good bidding war going. And Vinny will be ecstatic, and he will not give a damn that I got a full 6% commission. So, so that's pretty much all my spiel on how to avoid commission cuts. I hope you guys got some value out of that today. If you're looking for more content like this, feel free to, you can follow me on social media or, anything like that. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Hey, thanks for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this content. And if you're looking for more up-to-date content, please feel free to follow me on social media. If you're looking for some high-end real estate coaching that won't cost you an arm or a leg, sign up for the Next Level Academy. We'd love to have you in there. Until next time, I'll see you guys in the next episode.